Yay, we're live. Hey, Jeannie. Hey, guys. We are live. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Susan. Sue. Everybody coming in. Hey, Tara. From San Fran. Yeah. San Fran Jose. All right. Hi, Pat. All right. Today, guys, we're going to be working. I hope you guys enjoyed the 12 Days of Christmas. We finished that up and I posted that on Sunday, day 12, yesterday. Yeah, Sue's just a-dancing. But I thought that we would move on and start doing some fall colors so you guys are going to start seeing some fall stuff and some Halloween stuff. We're going to start doing some of those. And of course, then we'll go back into Christmas after Thanksgiving there, or just before Thanksgiving. So we'll be doing a mixture of Thanksgiving and Christmas in November, and then we will be strictly back on Christmas until New Year's. So I thought we would break it up and do a little bit of fall and work on some techniques. And this card, as you can see, my leaves are nice and shiny and distressed looking on this one, and then my background as well. I also did some embossing here with my Cricut that drew, and then I also did some on the inside. It just gives a bump up to your cards. A lot of people don't understand that there are different types of embossing. You can use the heat embossing using your powders and do different things with them. And you can also do folder embossing, which is running it through your Cuttlebug things or your Big Shot Pro using embossing folders. Okay. And I thought we would go into, I haven't done it in a while. I thought I'd jump back into it and do some embossing folders with heat embossing. So I thought that that would give you guys another little technique in your arsenal and bump up some of your cards. But you can see that I've got the dull of the cardstock and the shine of the embossing powder. And I've got a mixture of both on this one. I've just got this on my Pop Dots. I've been playing with it, you can tell. But, and then I wanted to do something straight onto the cards, some traditional, so that you guys would know how to use those powders. So, what I use, there they are. I use the Ranger embossing pens, okay? These Embossits, I hope it will focus on that. It's called an Embossit pen. They come in black and clear. My clear one, I used it up. It dried up, so I bought my new clear embossing pen from Close to My Heart. I have a link down below. And in your Close to My Heart pack, you get 3 different size tip embossing pens. You can use these in your Cricut makers. They will fit your Cricut Explorer 2s, your Airs. They will fit, but you've got one that's kind of like a brush tip. If you want to just go in and color some areas where you've embossed, you can do that. Then you have the big fat tip, and then you get my favorite, which is the one I use the most, the thin tip. Okay, and they will do that on your machines. Using these pens, they all stay wet enough to emboss with throughout your drawing, and I wanted to show you that. So let's pop over to monitor 2, or to my monitor, and take a look at the file. Now I've already done some of these, but I didn't want to do them too far in advance in this file, because I wanted you guys to be able to see that they will write and draw and give you time to set up and do your embossing before that ink dries, because it is a special type ink. Now you can use pigment inks as well. Hi Jamie. So we're having this right on this base and then on this card panel here. So I'm just going to send it over to make it. And you guys have a machine. All I've done is load my paper on my mat. Let me pop back over. I've loaded my paper on my mat, and we're going to let it draw that page that you just saw while we do our leaves. So I'm just going to pop that in, and I'm going to pop in my, that's the wrong pen, don't want that one. That's the big fat one, don't want that one. There we go. So I'm just going to put that into my pen holder and lock it in, and then we're going to send this over to the mat. And I'm going to hit continue. No, I don't. There we go. It's asking, it's being a little slow. We are getting new internet here. I had Comcast previously at my old address, and I didn't have any problem with it. And we just got new lines ran. So I am getting new internet as soon as they allow me. So on my screen over here, let me pop back over. I'm just going to leave it at default pressure. I don't need any of that. I am not going to go into fast mode, and I just want to write and draw. Now it's asking for the midnight pen because that's what I have set in there, but you can put your embossing pen in. You don't have to worry about changing that. So I've got my mat loaded, and I'm going to press go. So we're going to work over here while that is going on. So I have my leaves cut and my panel cut, okay? And I'm just going to move over some of this stuff. Now you are going to need some Versamark ink or a pigment ink of some sort, okay? It depends on the color embossing powders you're using, and we'll cover that a little bit here in a moment while we're doing that. So first I'm going to get my Cuttlebug, and I'm going to open it up, and hopefully I can get most of this on camera for you guys. And I'm going to start with my base piece. And the first thing you want to do is take your static bag and you want to dust that off, because you don't want a bunch of embossing powder sticking somewhere where you don't want it. And then you're going to need your embossing folder. But what I'm going to do is open up that folder. There's my front. And on this side of my embossing folder, I am going to take my Versamark ink, and I am just going to, I don't want to get it on my card, I am just going to dab that side of the embossing folder. Now I am not doing it and making sure I get absolute 100% full coverage. I don't need it. This is a distressing type look. So now that I have that folded up, I'm going to place my cardstock in my folder, and I'm just going to fold it shut and hold it. You don't want to move it around at this point. Okay? And this is a basket weave by Doris. And then I have my A plate, my B plate, which is one I cut my dies on, and then I have my other B plate. So we're just going to make our sandwich, and we're just going to run that into the embossing folder. Just going to run it through. Now when you do this, you are going to need to clean your folders. So I've run that through. I'm going to open it up, and careful not to touch. Now I do have a big area right here where I missed with ink, and that's okay for me. I don't mind that, and I will show you a little trick on how I do that, because sometimes I don't go all the way to the edges, sometimes I do. If you want it to go to the edges, make sure you do your folder. Now I'm just spraying it with some stamp cleaner, water-based stamp cleaner, and I'm wiping that off. You can wipe it off with a baby wipe, but you want to clean your embossing folder off. We're just going to slide this out of the way while that other one is writing. And I have my tweezers. You're going to need some tweezers, some pinchies, a clothespin, anything that you want. And you want to hold that in an area where you don't have any ink. And then I'm just going to take my my Versamark pad, and I'm just going to go over some areas on the edge that I missed. And it doesn't matter if I cover the whole thing or not, it'll be okay. If it's heavier in some places, that's okay too. And I'm just going to wait on my card over here to finish. It's cutting the last little bit. Yeah, you can use a wood clothespin to hold the paper. You can use your pinchy tweezers. You can use any of that. So now I've pulled this one off, and I have my inked area right here from my embossing pen. I'm just going to close my embossing pen up. And I want to do this one in the copper. I am using Recollections from Michaels in the copper embossing powder. So I'm just going to open that up and sprinkle it right on the top. Then I'm just going to tap it off into that coffee filter. I like to do mine twice. You probably don't have to, but that's just me. Then I'm just going to tap off the excess. Now, if you forgot to use your embossing bag over the cardstock, you may have some trace pieces, and you can. I use this little. This is called a 12-0 angular brush. I got this at Hobby Lobby over in the artist section, but it's very, very fine, very teeny tiny tip, and I can get in there and knock out embossing powder in places where it's not supposed to be. Love that brush for that. So that one's ready to go. I'm just going to set it to the side. I'm going to take my coffee filter, and I'm going to put that copper powder right back in. You want to make sure you get it all in there and not on your desk like I just did. You definitely don't want to heat that stuff up on your desk. And I'm just cleaning out my filter. I don't want that to have any other embossing powders on it. Brush that away. Now I'm going to take this one since I have it ready, and I'm going to be using the Zing Clear. Also, you can get this at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. I believe it's, American Craft. But any of the clear embossing powders. That's what I'm using here. I got this at Hobby Lobby, as a matter of fact. And then I'm just going to sprinkle it on that card that we put in our embossing folder. And where I raked it across there, going to hit all those areas. You're going to do this whole card. Now I don't do this one twice unless I run out of powder and don't have enough to cover. But I'm covering that whole area with the clear. And you can see it's not uniform. I've got big splotchy places that I've got that in there. If you want it more uniform, again, just make sure you ink up your embossing folder uniformly so that you get everything covered exactly like you want. Okay, and we're just going to work on two at a time here because I just bumped that, but it's okay. I didn't mess it up. So I'm just going to work on two. And then you're going to need a heat embossing gun. Now, heat embossing guns are different than heat guns. They're different from your hair dryers. I have used those. You can. But you will blow your powder off of your project if you're not careful. Yes, it is super, super fine. So I'm just going to turn this on and let it heat for a moment. It's not very loud. This is a Ranger heat gun. I think I got mine from, you can get them at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, but I think I got mine from Close to My Heart. So we're just going to go in and start heating that slowly. And I like to heat from the front and the back. Some people like to do just the front. And you're going to start to see it change as it heats up and melts that sand or plastic bead, whatever it is. I think it's sand. But I like to heat from the back as well. And you can see it just barely moves my paper because there's just not a ton of air coming out of there, just mostly heat. I love to do panels. I haven't done embossed panels in forever. Now we're just going to move over to this side. And your paper will curl and warp on you a little bit. Make sure that that's... And that's okay. It'll flatten back out. I'm just going to turn that off. And you don't want to touch it until it's cool. And I'm just going to hit this corner where I had some stick here where my... There we go. Yes, Louise, this one is so super quiet. It is. And that really helps when you're doing videos. But you could see that I've got this plastic-like distressing technique on there. And it changes the cardstock colors and stuff like that. Love, love, love. Now that's the clear. And over here you have where we use the copper. So I'm just going to heat it in the same manner from the top and the bottom. I like to do the bottom. That way you guys can see it changing as well. And you can just watch it change into that nice coppery color. If you have any dull areas, anything like that, that means it's not heated enough. But you're going to get that nice, super little shine. Like so. Okay? So we have those two. Now I'm going to pop over here and take this off my mat, and I will show you another thing that you can do with your clear while we have it write our sentiment on the card base. So I'm just putting my card base in there, and I'm using craft paper for this, for that rustic look, and I've already dusted it with my embossing bag. And then I'm going to use my Ranger Emboss It pen in black. I'm going to load that up and let it go. Let me select my cardstock here. My mouse doesn't want to move. I got embossing powder down there. There we go. And craft cardstock. And go. So we're just going to let that write really quick. And then I'm going to take my two leaves here, and I'm using the same clear on those. But I'm just going to use a different embossing folder. Oops. That's what happens when you don't have a sticky enough mat. My paper came off my mat. Okay. Let me try this again, guys. Flip it all around and make sure my paper's on there. I apologize. So we're going to start again here. There we go. I had to turn my machine off and turn it back on. My paper came off my mat. I'm due for a new mat here. Okay, score and draw. Let's try that again. Okay, so I have these two, and I'm going to do these in two different folders. There, I am missing one of my folders. There it is. So I'm going to do, I think I'll do the green and the dots this time. So I'm just going to tack on this side. This is my raised side. This is my flat side. This is the one I want. So I'm just going to take my Versamark. And I'm just going to dab an area there in the center. I'm going to take this cardstock and flip it over. I don't care if it covers the whole thing or not. If you want the whole thing covered, then you'll need to make sure that you're covering the entire area. And then again, I've got my A plate, my B plate, my folder, and my other B plate. And we're just going to run that through the Cuttlebug. Just like that. I'm going to put my pen in. And then we'll open this one up. And now I have just a little bit of embossing powder on that guy. We're just going to bring it over. Now you can do this in colors as well if you want. Embossing powders come in all sorts of color. And you can see that I have powder on everything except the raised part of my dots. Now I did this one reverse yesterday so that you could see the reverse. I did the dots and on top, leaving some areas. I wiped it off. You can do that. You can go in and wipe it off of the folder, not before you put your paper in. So we're just going to heat this up. And I know that I don't want to be holding that when I heat it up. There we go. What color was what from Design Space, Susan? You can see it just changing. Give that a second to cool. I have a little gold thread right there that got into my embossing powder somehow. And we're just going to leave it on that leaf because I'm never going to get it off. So there we have that leaf. And you can heat it, and while it's warm, you can get a little curl on there if you want. Get a little curl going and let it dry that way. That way it's not sitting flat. And now I have this black pen here, and I'm going to use the clear on top of that as well. So I'm just going to go in, and we're just going to get our powder to stick. I'm going to dust it. I like to do mine twice. Again, that's me when I'm doing writing. And so you've covered the black with that. This piece is big enough I don't need something to hold it. And then we're just going to heat that, and you're going to watch that clear bring that black out. And you just want it to be nice and shiny. Heat it to that point and then let it dry. It takes just a minute because it's plastic, okay? And right here I have an area that still looks dull. If you have any dull looking area, you need to reheat that. It's best to heat it the first time. Sometimes reheating can make it bubble and not look as pretty. But you should have a nice, even, pretty shine on there. And it should be dry. Okay? So those are some of the things you can do with the clear. Whatever color your embossing pen is, you can use that clear on there. So what if you wanted to just buy clear powder and not use, say you wanted red, okay? If you use your pigment inks, and I did have a, there it is. I'm trying to keep all this powder loose. First thing you want to do is, of course, dust with your anti-static bag. And then you can use a stamp that you have in a pigment ink. And this is Candy Apple Pigment from not Stampin' Up, Close to My Heart. So I've just got some stamp on there and some ink. And I'm just going to stamp right in the center of that. I'm going to set that to the side. I forgot to get my pigment ink, my solvent ink cleaner out. So I've stamped that on there in red, and now I can dust that with this clear and get a red embossing powder without actually having to buy the red. You cannot do that with regular dye inks. It will not work. It won't stick. A link for the black pen, Amazon link is down below, Vicki. And just search Ranger embossing pen. My paper's getting hot. So that's how you can bring some color in with the clear embossing powders using your different color ink pads. Okay? How pretty is that? Nice and easy. No, easy peasy stuff to do. And I need that clear one more time. I apologize. Let me get some of this off of my mat. I don't know how I spilled that, but I did. And if you spill it, you'll know it feels just like sand. There we go. So I'm going to take my last one here. And I want to ink. I think I want the ink impression down on this one. So I'm going to do the back side of those leaves. With my Versamark. Then I'm just going to place that right there. Hopefully I didn't twist it much. You don't want it to move when you put that on there. Can mess it up. So we're going to place that in there. And again, run that through our Cuttlebug. That looks good. And then we're just going to, wherever it sticks. Again, I did these rustic. Didn't want them to coat the whole thing. I wanted the different colors of papers to show, to make that shine pop. I've lost, there it is. And we'll heat that last one and we'll put our card together. Yeah, it gives it a little bit different look if you do it on the folders, Susan. Now you have to make sure that you wash your folders. You can wash them with warm soapy water, or like I said, I use stamp cleaner. Get that good and melted. And see how I get that two-tone distressed look out of that? Very pretty. I don't know if that camera's going to pick it up really well. But in person it's pretty. You can see the texture of the cardstock and everything. Love, love, love. So then we're just going to put our card together. I'm just going to fold it on the score. It's really a quick card to do. Make sure we got that right. Then we're going to glue our panel down. Some art glitter glue. And if the warping of your cardstock bothers you, you can put it under your mat here or under a book or anything for a couple of hours or an hour or so, and it should straighten back out. Or you can do what I'm doing and just glue it down. And it should. You rub it. Can use your brayer, your Cricut brayer, and brayer over it. So then we have that piece, and then I pop dotted this one up, and I think I'm going to do the same with this one. Just gonna. That one's a little smaller, but it's okay. These are just foam dots. Again, Amazon. I might put one right there. Amazon, Hobby Lobby, Michaels. And I use these are so super sticky. I probably should have used my square foam. It doesn't want to come off of there. So who has not done heat embossing before? Yeah, the clear embossing powder is my main. I love them all. I like silver, gold. I have some black glitter, but I prefer the clear over the black Ranger pen, personally. The glitter has its places, but on a rustic card, I wanted to just go. I just wanted that pop of shine, so I didn't want to use the glitter. So that's where the black pen comes into play. I apologize for this taking so long, guys. It's just, I think these are a sheet of old dots that didn't get used at some point, and I just got them mixed in with my newer ones. And they're really tough to peel. There we go. Super sticky. So then we're just going to layer this up. Line it up good. I'm just going to stick that down. Hopefully I'm straight. And that's going to give you a little dimension in that pocket there. Okay. And we can do a dot on the back of each of these. Yeah, it is like magic, and I love it. It's one of those techniques that's not really messy, but so satisfying to watch and to play with. And let's see, I'm going to bring this right around. It doesn't matter if it covers up part of your dots or anything on there or goes over. That's just going to give you more dimension and layers. You do want to not have it hanging off the side of the card there. Can go to the edge, but you don't want to come over or it won't go in your envelope. And you can make the leaves smaller in that file too, or change them out. Design Space has tons of leaves now. They have the oak leaf too that I really like. I'm just gonna. And I might even put some Nuvo drops up in that corner. Let's see. These are the vintage drops, the Nuvo vintage. They dry in the color, but they're not shiny. Yeah, it adds a ton of texture. I didn't do this to my card yesterday. I forgot it. And the vintage drops you can get from Tonic Studios, scrapbook.com, Amazon. And those will dry with a dull finish. They will not dry shiny. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and do my other card while I have this out because I just forgot it yesterday. And I just go in a circular motion just to, so I don't get those glue trails on there. How super cute is that? And this one, in case anybody wants to know, is Postbox Red in the vintage drops. And it will dry right about the same color as that cardstock with the embossing on there. Really, really, really close. So does anybody have any embossing questions for heat embossing or your Cuttlebug embossing, anything like that? Cuttlebug or your Big Shot Pro? Yes, the fine powder is best for your lettering. And you can see right here, this clear, it should say on there. I can show you. I think this is really extra fine. It's just embossing powder. This one doesn't say. The zing doesn't say. And then this copper, this is for, it says right here, detail embossing powder. So this is for all your fine stuff. Okay. Now they do make other types, guys, and you work them the same way. Okay, you have, this is what's called ultra thick. Okay, if you're wanting to do maybe an area on a card where you want it to be really defined and really thick plastic-like, this is what you want to use. You don't want to use this for your fine details like words and things like that. It won't look good because it will all run together. I don't know if you can see how large those are. See how grainy that is? It's almost like your salts. You have your coarse salt and then you have your fine powder. And you can see the difference there. This is like really fine sugary type sand. Okay? I'm going to need my... And then you have one that's called sticky embossing powder. Yeah, Debbie, this one is for all of your, to give you those layered textured effects. I encourage everybody to play around with some of this on some scrap cardstock. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And you also have your melted. You can add glitters and stuff like that to this and melt it in like a little silicone mold and make your own embellishments. use mica powders, whatever. You can do all sorts of stuff with the melted embossing powders. But this is to be melted in for like silicone molds and stuff, and this stuff is like, it's thin like cornstarch. So that's another texture of it. So you have several textures, and what your job is, what you're doing, you need to pay attention to what kind of powder you're using for the job. Yeah, it comes in, this one is opaque white, so if you're going like on a gold, a black or a dark red or green, hey, new subscriber, welcome, welcome. You can use white in place of that, something that's going to pop out. It looks good on craft cardstock too. And again, this is the fine, when it says detail, it's really a fine embossing powder. And then you have your glitter. I don't recommend the glitters for wording that's really small, like these little dots we have on here. It just, to me, it just doesn't come out well. So you have to be careful of those glitter ones. And then you have what is called sticky embossing powder. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera. The sticky, what it does is for like your, oh shoot, I just went blank. The foils. I'm trying to think of the name of the foils. Anyway, where you have the embossing powders, and usually they have foils up above it. I know Jamie knows what I'm talking about. Is not that you can use probably the Heidi Swap foil too, but this is, I think it's made by American Craft. I'm not sure, but they have foils. So what you do is you're going to heat this just like we did deco foils. Thank you, Louise. That's what I was looking for. Deco foil. You put this on just like we heat emboss these right here, but this is going to remain sticky after it cools. And then you're going to lay your foil over it and press it down or rub it, and then peel that foil off, and the foils will stick to this. Okay? So, but that does, I'm going to encourage you to practice on a scrap piece of cardstock before you actually do it on your project. Because the sticky foils in the sticky powder in the deco foils, they can be finicky. And you should play with it a little bit before you do your actual project. But a little bit of this goes a long way. I mean, guys, these I've had for years. I use more clear than I use anything. So this is just another form of foiling for this that you can use. And then you have powders. I love the embossing powders like this. These speckle. They have different colors and different glitters and all in them. And every time that you use these, your image will be different. Because the powders, they come in different colors. They come in pinks and lavenders and blues, but they're called speckled. And kind of looks like, the blue looks like a robin's egg when you heat it up and let it go, because it has the little browns and the blues and the glitter. Yes, it's good for flocking, Cindy. The sticky, you can use the flock powders with it. Yeah, you can use the iridescents are pretty. You can use the sticky with glitter too now. You can use this, heat it up, and then put the fine glitters on there. I use the Elizabeth Craft fine glitters for that. So you can use the sticky powder, and then you just rub this in on top of it, on top of the sticky. And it gives you that beautiful sheen. Can also use the foil flakes on your stickies. These have like different colors of foils in them. I have some flock powder somewhere, but flocking, If any of you don't know what flocking is, it gives it like, I don't know if you've ever seen a card that felt like it had velvet on the top of it. That's called flocking, and you can buy it for nail art on Amazon. They have little containers of it that you can purchase, and then you just do your sticky, put your flocking on there, press it, and then brush off the excess. So tons of things you can do with embossing powders. You could do this exact same card with different powders and get so many different looks out of it. Instead of using the copper, you could use the foil flakes or the deco foil on here with the sticky would be super pretty. And even if it didn't take and some of it didn't stick, it would still be pretty because you would get that distressed look, which is the kind of look that we went for on this card. So you can get tons of looks out of this and textures. So does anybody have any other questions on embossing? I am just putting all my powders back because if I don't, they will be lost in this craft room forever. Yes, the flocking is extremely pretty on these levels when you do those. And it's not expensive either. Let me see if I can find them on Amazon and show it to you guys. Let's see. Let me bring you guys over to the monitor here. If I can get this on the monitor, there we go. Because you want to be careful about what flocking powders you buy. Something like this is really is not fine enough. This is what you want right here. Look for your nail art stuff because this is really too heavy. Something like that would be too heavy. And then for those of you who do not know what deco foil is, we will show you deco foil. And I know that you've seen this in your craft stores before. You can also use your deco foil, guys. If you have laser printers, you can laser print on your cardstock. Put the foil over the top of it with your black laser ink and put it through your laminator and it will stick. But if you don't have a laser printer, the sticky powder works. But there are all sorts of different colors. Here's your leaf sheets. And here's your watercolor ones over here. There's just tons of stuff. Now you can use this gel if you want. Personally, I don't care for it. I prefer the sticky powder, but it's going to also depend on your application. Sometimes the gel might be better, but you can use it with heat or no heat. Just depends on how you want to do that. I'm just used to the powders, so that's what I use. This is pretty too. The rainbow, shattered rainbow. But tons and tons and tons of colors. All right, guys. So that covers our embossing techniques this week. I am going to be doing on our live tutorials more techniques for you guys. I have been asked to show more of the techniques for inking and embossing and things like that. So I will be throwing some of those into the mix. And who was it? Was it Vicky that asked me about the pen? There we go. Right here, you can get it in the clear and you can get it in the black. And they used to have a pack that had right here. Here's an embossing kit as well. I'm just going to give you this page here, Vicky. That way you can go and pick the one that you want. Oh, you're very welcome. I had a lot of fun doing the 12 days. I didn't think I was going to make it before the end of the July, but I did. There you go, Vicky. There's the link to this page. And again, you can, all of these pens, guys, right here, these perfect pens as well, they all fit into your machine. And then if you don't want to do Versamark, here's their clear pad right here. Ooh, vintage pearl. I'm going to have to get some of that. I'm out of my pearl. That's another one I use a lot. Here are your small heat embossing tools. That's not the same one that I just used. Like I said, I got mine from Close to My Heart. That's where it came from. But you have tons of colors. They have, here's some holographic, all sorts of colors you can use. But you can really, really, really punch up your card making with this. You're very welcome, honey. Any of these heat guns really will work, guys. You just don't you want an embossing powder gun, because all of these others, your heat guns and your hair dryers and stuff like that, while they can be used, you will blow your powder everywhere. You can blow it right off the project if you're not careful. Hey, Dolores. That's a great deal right there. This one right here, guys, you get your black, you get your white, you get your white pearl and your clear gloss for 18 bucks. That's not bad because it's about 5 bucks in the store. Sometimes they put them on sale, sometimes they don't. But that's not a bad bundle. It's a good size. My heat gun was super quiet. I got that, like I said, on Close to My Heart. Well, I had to type it in the wrong spot, didn't I? Close to My Heart. Well, maybe I'll get there. There we are. There it is. And it's not a cheap one. Not a cheap one, but you heard how quiet it was. And I like the fact that it doesn't overheat. If you've ever overheated your embossing to where it looked really, really bad and wrinkly, You'll know what I mean. Can the fine letter used for tumblers be embossed? No, no. That won't work. They're polyester, Debbie. That glitter is a polyester. Now you can do the sticky powder, sprinkle it on, and stick it down. You can do that, but you can't really. You can't heat it up to melt. It won't melt. It's the glitter in these are a totally different type stuff. Yeah, the glitter is just super pretty. Extra fine glitter on ornaments is my favorite because it just gives that super pop of shine and reflection. All right, guys. We are not going to be live the rest of this week. I know that I have on the calendar for Friday, but I need, after that 12 days of Christmas, I need a break. I need to refresh my brain. I've got a couple of errands and things that I need to do around the house here. So I will not be live on Facebook Friday, but we will be live. I will be putting the August calendar up, and you guys will see when the next live is there, and it will be in the announcements. Thank you to all my supporters, my on Patreon, Ko-fi, YouTube channel supporters. Thank you. And a great big shout out and a thanks to all of my moderators. You guys are awesome. Yeah, they sell bags of glitter. I use bulk glitter. It's not going to let me post it in there. I have a link in the group guide for bulk glitter. If you need that, Debbie, message me. Might be better off. So just let me know. You guys have a wonderful night, and I will catch you probably next Monday.